We talked before about peeing carefully to save the world, how to recycle pee. Uh, I'll revisit this issue in the context of a nice article from New York Times and the unintended consequences of the war, Ukraine being invaded by Russia. It turns out that this thing has turned into a nightmare in terms of food security because of wheat exports being impacted. Of course, there have been heat waves, floods, droughts, and so on as well. But the other chemical compound that's been heavily affected is urea. Ukraine apparently, Russia and Ukraine affect this trade as well. So this is an image from New York Times article. India's shortage of urea sprinkled as a fertilizer by farmer in Bangalore has led to a run on distribution centers. Across the world, South Korea, elsewhere as well, shortage in urea has become an issue, and this is a good time to revisit the peeing problem and meet the Peecyclers. There is actually an organization that collects pee, and their idea is to help farmers. Number one, number one. And the title of the podcast I put as peeing bricks because, as you remember, there is a expression shitting bricks, which means being very nervous. So we can literally pee bricks in this case. Shortage of chemical fertilizer worsened by the war in Ukraine has growers desperate. It's just so happens that human urine has the very nutrients that crops need, urea, right? Here is an image. Arthur Davis, a researcher and program director at the Rich Earth Institute, prepared a urine collection truck for its rounds in May. So this is just a couple of months ago. And there has been research done in Nigeria. This nice paper reports on the impacts. This image from New York Times shows a program in southern Niger began as a way to help female farmers who could not afford chemical fertilizers. Researchers then found that urine, either with animal manure or alone, increased yields of some crops by about 30%. So it's Niger, sorry. Fields of pearl millet treated with post-emergence application, so after the seeds have sprouted, of sanitized human urine, it's called OGA there. So OGA plus organic manure is the control field, and this is just OGA. And the organic manure OM 42 DAS on a 10 meter by 10 meter area in 2015, and B solely OGA, the sanitized human urine, on a 5 meter by 20 meter area in 2016 compared to the control at Maradi, Niger Republic. OM was applied during sowing at the rate of 1 kilogram per planting hill at a hill of spacing of 1 meter by 1 meter, where OGA was applied 14 DAS at the rate of 0.2 liters plant pocket. DAS are of course days after sowing. Okay, so there are quantitative metrics reported in this paper that show how sanitized human urine can actually help. And as it says here, researchers found that urine either with animal manure or alone increased yields to some crops by about 30%. Fantastic news, right? So Kim Nace, co-founder of Rich Earth Institute, with a collection tank outside her home in Battleboro, and this is not a joke. This is serious business, and there are families that do this as well. There's an image of a family in the New York Times article that's worth looking up. So a farmer in Dummerton, Vermont, towed an applicator filled with pasteurized urine. Obviously, when you do this, you have to wonder how this is going to work. Let's say you set up a urine collection center somewhere and you want to transport that urine. That's not economically very viable because it's mostly water. But University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, I think, is working on concentrating urine to make it economically viable in terms of amount of urea you transport from the collection centers. So this is how it looks. I'm not going to go into details. Stabilized CaOH2 urine coming in, urea purity increased to 41 to 43%, and water is removed. Ethanol is added, undissolved impurities are removed, and urea purity of 76 to 91% is then given to urea crystals, given out as urea crystals, and ethanol is removed here after this process. Okay, so there is a way to do things when we set our mind to it, right? And there is a South African university group that has found ways to make bricks out of urea as well. How many loo breaks to make a brick? Obviously, this is an approximate calculation. These are Getty images. On average, a person typically produces 200 milliliters, between 200 and 300 milliliters of urine per urination. Of course, depends on whether you've been drinking something special. A biobrick, or you have other conditions. A biobrick needs between 25 liters and 30 liters to grow. This may sound a lot, but most of the urine is also used to produce about 1 kilogram of fertilizer. So there are co-benefits here. Okay. So make one urine brick. To make one urine brick, you would need to go to the loo about 100 times. These are all rough calculations from the Biobrick and Fertilizer Urine Project. Okay, worth reporting this as a podcast, right? So again, unintended consequences of war leading to urea shortage, and then existing methods of pasteurizing or sanitizing human urine to produce fertilizer. Obviously, organic manure and fertilizer based on organic products obviously help reduce manufacturing of chemicals at industrial scale. And reduce water pollution if done carefully in terms of what is extracted from the urine being disposed of properly, as opposed to peeing everywhere or releasing pee into wastewater treatment centers and so on and so forth. So then doing biobricks, there are many ideas of doing bricks also with pollution, with aerosols, dust and so on as well. Obviously it comes down to, again, a life cycle analysis kind of thing, where how much energy you are putting in to extract air pollution or urine to make bricks. So in the end it still matters, but considering the fact that we are peeing every day multiple times, if there is, and it is going into wastewater treatments or simply being released into soil and leading to algal blooms in some places, contamination of water in some other places, and of course it can smell like hell if you're not careful. So all those problems may be handled better by designing toilets that we had talked about early on in this series on new findings, and collecting urine and concentrating it and making urea and replacing industrial manufacturing of fertilizers in this way. Okay, so just a cute thing I wanted to put out here in new findings.